All righty. It has been a while. It's been a hot minute since I've been live here on freaking StreamYard, on YouTube, or anything. So I want to welcome each and every one of you in. Hopefully, you guys are all doing swell. Let me go live on Facebook here. I'm not sure if the mic is going to work, but we're about to find out. But so far, it looks like I am live. So if anyone has Facebook, you guys can double check me and see if my audio is working on Facebook. It's not through StreamYard. I'm just going through Facebook. But you guys can, if you guys have Facebook, just go on and check on there and see if my mic is working. But if not, then it's all good. So, um, happy. What was this today? Anyways, Thursday. We're one day away from the weekend. Well, I guess if you want to call it, it's 5 o'clock here in wonderful Ohio. So if you're working a 9 to 5 job, then it should be the weekend, 24 hours from now, right? So welcome all in, and I pinned this here for you guys because I do want to have a nice chat about this entire conversation that I had with this individual, which was very great. But I just want to make sure to bring some people in and also welcome all the people in as they start rolling in. So Prodigal Aquarist, Ohio lads gathered here. So yep, wonderful Ohio. Tim, thanks for coming in. Thanks for telling me, or to everyone else, make sure to like the live. Christopher Junkin, thanks for coming in, stopping by. Uncle Smiley's Aquarium, welcome in. Thanks for coming in and hanging out. Sweet Polly, thanks for coming in. What else we got? Who else we got here? Let's see. Craig's Catfish, welcome in. Thanks for stopping by. I think that this live stream is going to be great. What else we got? Eds, welcome in. Thanks for coming in and hanging out. It's just been a really long time since I've been live, so it's going to be interesting to get back into the groove of things because my life has been busy, but it's been productive, so I can't complain. So in the great state of Ohio here, it has been great weather. It's gotten a little bit cooler here, but for the most part, it really hasn't been too bad. It hasn't been super chilly. I think a week ago, I think it was last Saturday, I still think it was close to 80 degrees. So it's still been pretty warm, but we're starting to see the fall weather. I finally turned my heat on for the first time because it got into the 40s. So it's just now starting to get lurking into the cooler weather. So hopefully you guys are all doing well. Hoping that the weather's staying great for you guys. And I hope this is a great beginning to your guys' weekend. So I want to make sure to say hi to everybody. Branton, thanks for coming in and thanks for the lurk. I appreciate it. Make sure to like the live and hang out with me for a little bit and listen in on either at work or on your drive home and that sort of thing. But yeah, if one of you guys are on Facebook, it would do me a solid if you could check and make sure that the audio and video is working on Facebook on my Facebook Live, because I could do it now, but it might take me a little bit of time. But yeah, another thing I wanted to share with you guys is I haven't, knock on wood, because I hate when you say this, but I think the only fish death that I've had so far is just one within the last month and a half or so. And it was an electric lure car, and I only have one left up here. And he's been looking dull for a while, doesn't he eat a whole lot, and I'm so surprised that he's still alive to this day, but he always hangs out at the top. I don't know if he's just lonely or if he's just not eating or if he needs some more cars to hang out with him, but he doesn't grow a whole lot, doesn't eat a whole lot, and I'm so surprised that he hasn't passed away yet because he does not have any color in him at all. But that's a good news for me, is that I haven't had any fish deaths in a very long time. And I want to show you guys my 220 tank. So let me show that to you guys as well. This is how it currently stands. And it is going well. You can see that it's showing some age a little bit with a little bit of the brown algae growth here in the rocks, which I'm okay with. It's nice to have the brand new look to it and have that pristine look, but I might at some point maybe get a pleco to maybe help out a little bit with the algae, but some of the natural look to it also looks okay to me as well. So what do you guys think? I know that some of these YouTubers, they like to keep things in pristine condition and they're real careful with how everything looks and be presentable. Other people like to have the natural look with the greenery and the natural algae that kind of grows as the tank progresses. But that's a good thing too, though, because you guys know, as we all know as fish keepers, when you start to naturally grow that tank out, that you know that that tank is stable, it has enough beneficial bacteria that if you do heavy water changes or a big filter maintenance, that tank can still maintain what it needs to maintain to keep these fish alive and well and that sort of thing. So yeah, let me know. Like I said, this whole live stream is going to get hard to get me to get used to because it's been a while. But yeah, let me know what you guys think on how the tank looks. If you guys like the natural look, if you guys like your clean tanks. But yeah, I really like the topic that I picked today. And it's mainly because I've been wanting to do this topic for a long time now. And it's all about the pre-sponge that's on what's now in the newer stuff is now like Higer and all that sort of thing. They're starting to implement the pre-sponge filters into the before it goes in the main filter. So that's what I've been doing with my FX4s, FX6s. Like I said before, all the Higer stuff has been starting to implement that. Even the Aqua Clears and newer ones, they started to have those pre-sponge filters on there and stuff. So my opinion is pretty straightforward on this, but I had a conversation with someone, no one I knew personally or anything like that, and I wanted to share it with you guys here on my live stream, just to show you guys how you can have a respectful conversation and have a difference of each other's opinions and still respect each other's differences and be able to have a discussion about it. Because for all you guys who've been on YouTube long enough, a few years, you get, every once in a while, you have that one comment where you're just like, okay, this guy's not being, a great individual, you just delete it. Because that's what I do. But usually what I do too is I'll screenshot it and I'll show it to my wife and be like, look at this. This is pretty ridiculous. And then I delete it afterwards just because I want to make sure to say, this is what people do. And we all know, like, as if you're into the YouTube thing and you're pretty much up to date, that you're always going to get this select one or two people that are not going to be okay with the comment and your content. And that's okay. But we all just got to be respectful of each other's differences. And I think that's great. And this is the type of conversation I had with this individual. Like I said, it's no one I know personally, but it was just someone who commented on my YouTube. And it was actually a short that I'll show you guys here in a minute. But it was a great conversation. And I'm going to go through all the different back and forth comments that we had through this YouTube short. And it was just him, too. And we had a difference of opinion on this topic of the pre-sponge filters. We agreed on some things as well. So it was a very healthy conversation. So it was very actually productive conversation as well. Tim likes the algae growth on rocks look more natural and balanced. Yeah, and that's why, like, if it gets a little bit out of control, Tim, that I would probably maybe add like a pleco in there, like a bristlenose maybe, because since they're African cichlids. But yeah, I was kind of thinking the same thing. Is it doesn't look anywhere near as age as Lake Erie, because we all know that Lake Erie has some rough spots. I mean, on a side note, our last fishing trip that we were supposed to do ended up getting cut short because as soon as we were like 10 minutes out in the water, there was so much logs and so much crap that was floating around the lake that the log hit the propeller, and we turned around and had to come back. And our fishing trip was very uneventful. So luckily, we didn't have to pay for any of it due to the fact that we don't pay until after the fishing trip is done. But yeah, I do know the history of Lake Erie and how much crap floats around it, especially after a heavy storm or if something happens, that it looks fine. And I think this tank is aging well. It's looking well. I haven't had a single fish die in this fish tank. They eat well. Most of the fish are starting to really color up now. There's a select, one or two, of course, that are probably just on the bottom of the color chain, but they're definitely looking good. Everyone's eating. I've done my filter maintenance. Well, I take that back. I haven't done my filter maintenance on it yet because its tank is still pretty new. 2 FX6s. So the fish still have, double the amount of size to grow, if not more. So I've been doing my water changes on a regular basis, taking about 25-30% out every couple weeks or so. I think last time it was about 3.5 weeks or so when I did my last water change, which was just recently. So everything's been doing great and everything's looking good. I'm really thankful for that. Um, so yeah, looks like we've got about 12 people in or so. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming in and watching and hanging out for a little bit. I appreciate all the lurks. I appreciate all the time and effort you guys put into watch my live streams. It's very appreciative. And now that we got a few people in here, I do want to get this discussion of talking about, since we're about what, like 10 minutes in, I feel like a good like 10, 15 minutes of just seeing like, hey, how's it going, guys? And kind of giving you guys some updates. It's kind of like the pregame before I get into the meat of the conversation of what this topic is about. Um, but yeah, that's kind of what Tim feels too, that you prefer a bit more uh, gunk or grunge in my tanks. Stale tanks aren't healthy tanks, in my honest opinion. And that's kind of what I feel like everyone would be into as well. It's nice to have that clean look, but then if you have that clean look, then it seems like you're either a new tank or someone is spending too much. I guess this is my opinion too, so I really can't, stress this too much. But like, if you're that picky about your tank, this is how I feel about it. That I would be spending more time cleaning than I would just sitting down and enjoying the tank for what it is. And I feel like that's what we all need to do more of, is to, yes, do a regular maintenance, but at the same time, not to be too nitpicky about little things and just sit down and enjoy the fish tanks for what they are, enjoy the colors of the fish, enjoy how everything's working, everything's stable, everything's working the way it needs to, and everything's happy and healthy, and that's great. So I'm kind of on the same boat with you guys. But Jeff Kane, thanks for listening in and driving. Be safe when you're driving as well. So um, hopefully you won't. Hopefully you can watch a little bit of the video when you get home. But this is a very interesting topic that I wanted to bring up and discuss. Long story short, I think if you guys who all know me, my feelings on a pre-sponge filter, I'm all about it. I have a very, I guess, semi-strong opinion about it without being too much, into the whole subject. But I do use a lot of pre-sponge filters. I use a lot of sponge filters for my tanks down here. All of my FX6s, except for one, which is the one tank I have upstairs, all have pre-sponge filters on it. No, I take that back. Two. But I do service this FX2 here in my Mbuna tank pretty regularly, as opposed to the ones that are like upstairs and the ones here and in my 75 tank I got a pre-sponge on as well. So that is why I service my FX2 a little bit more often than I do my FX6s and the FX4 and that sort of thing. So I'm very much in favor of having the pre-sponge filters on all my well, do I have any hang in the backs? I do have one currently, yes, and that one does have a pre-sponge filter on it. I have an AquaClear that's not set up that already came with a pre-sponge filter. I have a Higer canister filter that I was kind of putting my own foam in as I was getting ready for this live stream, so it's not in yet, but I'm going to put it in my other 40-gallon breeder tank to kind of help with the filtration right now. But yeah, I'm pretty for the pre-sponge filters. I think it's a very handy thing to have, but I want to talk to you guys and hopefully show you guys, since some of you are working and lurking, some of you are driving, some of you just listening in. So if you can't see the video, this is why I want to share it with you guys. And I'm going to read the back and forth comments of what me and this individual had. Like I said, him and I had no problem against each other. It was just a healthy conversation of differences of opinion. And I knew, Scotty, I knew that right off the bat when I saw you in here. Thanks for coming in, by the way. I knew that you're all about the pre-filters, nits and must-haves, so I knew that you were pretty happy about that. But I think this is a good topic to talk about, just because of the fact that there can be reasons to not have a sponge filter on a pre-sponge filter. So this is the conversation that I'm going to go ahead and play this, share the screen here. Let me see. I got to remove that. We're going to add me so I can say hello to you guys again. But I'm going to go ahead and add this to the stage. And this is, let me do a full screen for you guys. And the people who are on Facebook, you're just going to have to go on YouTube and watch this. because I cannot present it on Facebook because I have the cheap version of StreamYard. And if I had the paid version of StreamYard, which also costs $45 a month, I would be able to stream to multiple locations like Facebook and Instagram and Twitch and that sort of thing. But because I'm cheap at the moment, people on Facebook, you're just going to have to listen in on what we have to talk about in this discussion. But anyway, here we go. Let me just play this for you guys. Hopefully you can hear it. But this is my short that I created about sponge filters. Have you guys ever thought about how to make your FX6s more efficient and do? Can you guys hear that okay? On them? Well, here's a trick for you. Let me know in the comments if you hadn't already known. What all of your FX series canister filters come with is this cage looking thing and an extendable arm that you can use for your aquarium. Well, today we're not even going to use this thing. What I've done is I have drilled 1/8 holes throughout this entire bottom piece of your intake tube. And there's about 10 of them here, and you just slide this pre-sponge filter on the end. So that way, whenever you put it inside your water, you get a lot of detritus and fish waste that gets attached to this. It benefits as more beneficial bacteria in your aquarium. And then when you're done, you can just take this off, squeeze it out into your sink or what have you, pop it back on, and then you're good to go. And it saves roughly 6 months to a year, depending on your stock and what your aquarium has, to maintenance on your FX6 filters. So I thought that was a really good tip. Could you guys hear that? Let me know in the comments, please. I would greatly appreciate it. If not, there was subtitles to that, so that definitely helps for sure. But if not, you guys can check out that short as well. It's on my channel. I can even, let's see here. I could even share this on the, okay, good audio. Okay, thank you. But anyways, if you guys want to look at it again, and if you want to look through the comments again, even after we're done with the live stream, cool. Thank you, Jeff, and thank you for the Tim for the audio, and Scott, I appreciate it. But that's the short. I did this, oh, geez, how long ago was this? Anyways, it's been at least a month. So did I get that screen? Oh, look what I did here. So let's go back. Have you guys ever thought about, all right, let's pause this here. So I want to show you guys the comments, and I'm going to expand this screen too. But what I'm going to do in discussion with this is I want to talk about this and the discussion that me and this individual had about pre-sponge filters. So let me expand the comments here. It was the only person who commented on this, which is fine. But this, I don't know if he does YouTube. I never actually looked into it. But J-Rock does stuff is who commented on it. So I'm just going to refer him as J-Rock as I read through the comments. Now, I know you guys that are watching, you guys can read. But I do want to read this in case people are lurking and just want to listen in on everything. So Jay said, I'll just refer to him as Jay. And then he says, put a dish sponge in the part you took off, then you don't have to drill your tube. So my reply to that is, when drilling the holes, you get more surface area / suction throughout the entire intake, as opposed to just coming from the bottom end of the tube. And like I said, this was a very respectful conversation. Everything went fine. There was no problem. But Jay says, you're destroying your tube if you ever change your mind on how you want to approach this. I would rather make an attachment than destroy the tube if this was the approach I wanted to take. I just don't think drilling the tube is the way to go. If it works for you, that's great, but I can think of several different options than drilling the tube. I'm not trying to start anything here, just thinking drilling the tubes probably isn't the smartest way to approach this, as there's no going backwards. Once you do this, just my thoughts on it. Which is respectful. For my situation, this is what I'm replying with. For my situation, this works due to installing the filter inlet behind the aqua decor background within the hidden inserts. And that's just for my personal preference, and even if you had a regular tank. But I go on to say that in the way the top border glass is made, However, I've done this other times on simple or similar setups too, the same way with no issues, and loved it. You do bring up a good point, though, as another option to put a sponge inside the cage. Either way, it still lengthens the maintenance time. I believe every filter intake should be pre-made with sponges on the end. A lot more are doing it this way, as I'm talking about like companies per se, which is nice to see. Jay's response then comes in as, have you found a good way to remove said sponge without everything falling back into the tank? When one goes to clean it, as soon as it's removed from the suction, everything in the sponge leaks back into the tank. So I reply with, what are you referring to by everything? Waste slash detritus slash sponge. The sponge I use has always been tight enough that I never have it drop when pulling the tube up and out of the tank. Other hang in the backs I've had with pre-sponge factory installed has always stayed on too. Also, any minor, I guess in quotations, leftovers that have fallen are easily picked right back up, starting the filter back up after doing maintenance on the pre-sponge. This is my best experience that has worked, as well as others I've talked to through the YouTube community. So Jay replies back with, correct me if I'm wrong, but kind of the point of having a filter is to take the stuff out of the tank. The point of a pre-filter is for you if you're using your filter for biomedia. And in that case, you would not want anything in the filter. So the pre-filter stops anything from entering the biomedia. If you're using a filter to filter water and then return clean water out, I don't understand why someone would pre-filter it and keep it in the tank when the point is to take it out, as a pre-filter keeps the stuff in. Just kind of my take on it. Anytime there's a pre-filter and you turn off the filter will drain what is in the filter back into the tank, especially when you lift it out to service it. Another reason a person would use a pre-filter is to keep any fry from getting sucked in. Probably shrimp too. Often of that is never made sense to me, as it keeps whatever it would suck out in. So my reply to that, and we're almost done, guys, I promise. We got a couple more to go. My reply to that was, I feel this would be an easier conversation in person, but it's fine though. Anyway, typically the pre-filter is made out of coarse material to get the heavy poop or detritus before going into the main filter, where the medium and fine sponges are, or biomedia of choice, before returning to the tank. Rarely a medium pre-filter is used. It also extends, for example, an FX6 the time it takes to service it. Also with a pre-sponge, if having a sand substrate would help prevent it from being sucked into the intake. If you ever have sand diggers, like African cichlids like me, if you ever have sand diggers, eliminate the chance of ruining your motor / impeller. You're definitely not wrong though about wanting to have clean water running through your biometer before returning into the tank, as well as preventing fry from being sucked into the intake. I personally don't worry too much about waste / water getting dropped back into the tank from the inlet after turning off, because it's very little compared to what is in the actual filter itself. That's where the majority of your, quote, real estate, unquote, of beneficial bacteria will be. Plus, once the filter maintenance is done, what got dropped in the tank will quickly get filtered away. Either way, I think both of us have a good, fair point in this situation. What works for someone may or may not work for another. It's very situational and a personal preference. At the end of the day, if your fish are happy and healthy, that's all that really matters, and we all learn something along the way. This is his last big comment, and he says, no, I agree with most of that. There's several ways to do anything, especially in fish keeping. This is Jay responding. I think this is a very healthy conversation. We're not fighting or angry. I've been keeping fish for a long time, since I was a teenager. I've seen it all and tried most of it. I've used pre-filters plenty and came to the conclusion that unless there's something you're trying to keep in the tank, you're preventing it from taking out what you want. Kind of defeats the main purpose of removing from the tank. As the sponge fills with debris and bio, it gets full of that stuff, and the second you take it off the suction, it dumps back into the tank. I don't know how much could be 50% or could be less, but there's stuff that you were trying to take out that's now still in. It dumps again the moment you lift it from the water at the top. So while I do understand the idea behind the pre-filter, I feel like the idea is misunderstood. So that's why I named my live stream the title as it is. It literally, he goes on to say, it literally as simple as use one if you need to keep something in the tank. Don't use one if you're not, in my opinion. I think the original idea, if I remember correctly, was an idea to try to save the filters and the canister from having to be cleaned as often. There again, I have to go back to you want this stuff out of the tank and not in the tank, so it doesn't matter if it saves any time, defeating the purpose of removing all that it catches. Just my thoughts on it and something I like to discuss. I'm not saying having a pre-filter is wrong. I'm saying people might think about why we use a pre-filter and what it's doing and why it may or might not be a good idea to use one. And he says, have a good day, which is fine. And it basically says, I think we've had a great discussion. I reply back with, I don't mind talking about each other's experiences, sharing each other's differences. We've kept it a healthy conversation. I appreciate everything you shared, and it all makes sense. And then I also say that if you don't mind, I respectfully wanted to ask him to share a conversation on a live stream. It would be a good topic. And he replies back with, he said, have at it. And I unfortunately did not give him the link because it's been like well over a month ago. So yeah, sorry for all the reading. But I couldn't explain this to you guys enough unless I actually read the entire conversation. Let me go back to my ugly mug here. All right, there we go. So yeah, I want you guys to respectfully, take this, in, as much as you want. I think we both have really good fair points, but as you guys all know, and how I feel, and how Scotty knows too, of course, is like I'm all about pre-sponge filters. And I believe that this was a very healthy conversation. There was no need to go back and forth. And like I said before, if you've been on the YouTube community long enough and come out with content, you're going to have that one or two people that's going to be like, all right, this guy's not worth my time. And that's kind of like my initial thought when this conversation first started. But as it went on, it was like, you know what, that's fine. No one's yelling at each other. And I'm thinking, like I said, if this were in person, this would be a lot easier conversation. But in hindsight, everything worked out well, and that's fine. Yeah, and it's my, and like you said, like it's the way I do things. And long story short, Prodigal is the only way that I could set up my 220, and this is a used tank, mind you guys. Remember that where the filters go, I know I'm not a very how do I say this? Like, I'm savvy enough to do stuff around the house, as many of you know. When you own a house, you kind of learn along the way. But I was trying to figure out a way to get tubes to work out, and I just couldn't get it to figure out. So I just kept the main tubes from my two FX6s, and the only way I could do that for the time being is to take the cage off because it would not fit in that tight area. I did a live stream with Jesse where I brought up my screen and showed him, hey, how do I do this? And the only way to do it is to make my own tubing. And I haven't done that yet because once I made space for the 220, I was really looking forward to get it set up. So it's still set that way. And the only way I could do that is to take off the cage and drill my own holes and then put the pre-sponge filter on it and call it a day. And I'm okay with that. And other fish tanks, like I said before, I've drilled holes with. And I got that idea from Ben Ochart, which I still follow to this day. And I also got that from Jesse as well. I've learned from other people on YouTube. So that's just the way I do things. And like you said, Prodigal, your tube, your call, end of story. Scotty says, he is wrong, Joe. You can buy a replacement tube real cheap if you want to go back. But why would we do that? Of course. So there is replacement parts you can buy for the FX6. And for some reason, if you didn't like the pre-sponge filter, then no, I personally haven't looked into this, but if that's the case, Scotty, I didn't know that. So I'm assuming that there's plenty of replacements part you could probably buy either on Amazon or the Fluval website and that sort of thing. But yeah, I would assume that you can just buy a lot of replacements parts through Fluval, and then if you don't like it, you can always replace it. But in my opinion, like you, I have no reason to because everything's working. Everything's great for me, and I love it. And it's a little bit of a pain for me to do the pre-sponge. Like you guys have seen in my video about, the only thing that might suck is to take the pre-sponge filter off. I do have to take the top part of the canopy off, and then I kind of have to finagle things a little bit to get it out. But it does work for me and that sort of thing. Chris says, I just take off the FX pre-filter cage and stick it in an Eheim pre-filter in its place. You still have to remove the pre-filter and wash it every few days. Drew's route is just an easy and cheaper. Yeah. So there's more than one way to do this, just like our conversation that we had talked about too. So there's no wrong way to eat a Reese's. Jeff says, have you visited J-Rock's channel yet? Until about a year ago, he was extremely active in the community. No, Jeff, I have not. I don't know who J-Rock is. I've never heard of him before until that comment showed up, and I've never looked into his channel at all. So maybe that's something I could look into along the way. So yeah, happy fish, happy life, happy wife, happy life, right? Same with your fish. Chris says, can you just stick a sandwich bag over the sponge before you move it? Nothing back into the tank. So that was another thing I thought of too. I used to do that. When I had my peacock and hab tank upstairs, my 75-gallon tank, that's what I used to do. Is you can put like a Ziploc bag and kind of like put it over it, so that way when you turn the filter off, then whatever drops will drop into the bag, and then when you kind of slide the sponge off with the bag, you're still going to get a little bit into it, but at the same time, you just bring the bag up and just kind of dump the whole thing into the sink. And I've done that before, but after a while, I just kind of was like, I'm not worried about it. And I just kept up with the pre-sponge filters, every now and then, so it never bothered me. So I have done that before. And Ben Ochart did something too recently, or semi-recently, to where whenever you turn the filter back on, he did something as a short, I think, where he would put something up there to kind of catch all like the stuff that comes in from the tube after servicing something. So when you start it back up, it doesn't go everywhere. But yeah, that is something I used to do, and I just didn't do it anymore. I always watch Jay's concert videos. Okay, so he must be an all-around YouTuber. He's not like a total fish keeper, but he might be like an all-around YouTuber. Like I said, I don't know a whole lot about his channel, so you guys might have to fill me in. But yes, this is why, like, it's okay to have a healthy conversation and have differences of opinion on things, and I respect that totally. And I really like the conversation that we had, a healthy discourse in YouTube comments, and it's very refreshing. It's nice to have a debate and still be able to respect each other's decisions. And no one throws a rock is a good conversation. I totally agree, Chris. Amazon sells everything. Oh man, if I could tell you how much stuff I bought on Amazon lately, it's been nuts. And now that since I have a family of 4, it's like you start to get into those subscriptions of like your regular things like your toilet paper, your toothpaste, your odds and ends of your household needs for everything. It's just like Amazon, I swear, it doesn't go past my house. We never go through an entire week without Amazon at least stopping at our house at least once or twice. But yeah, there's stuff out there that's like, do I really need this? And then you end up buying it. And you're like, well, guess I got to work an extra day of overtime. But no, yeah, it's very nice to have a healthy conversation. And if any of you guys want to join in and just kind of put in your 2 cents on everything, or if you guys want to join in, I do have that pin or that comment pinned if you guys want to join in and talk about it. But yeah, that's kind of the sense of what I wanted to talk to you guys about, and kind of the bulk and the what I wanted to say about everything. But overall, it's been, like I said, I've been kind of away on YouTube for a while because I've been monitoring my, is it 3 weeks now? October 1st. So yeah, it's been 3 weeks and 1 day since my son was born. So it's been great. Everything's been going well. We just, the only thing that we had is there was a hearing test that we did that didn't work out in the hospital, and we had an appointment for our son the other day, and everything passed with flying colors. He's hearing great. All his senses are doing well, and he's eating good. He's, doing what babies do, cry, poop, and sleep. So everything's doing well, but taking care of my 3-year-old daughter at the same time while trying to keep her busy. That's kind of like my main focus. Just because whenever Ash is taking care of the son, that I'm taking care of my 3-year-old and taking her places to kind of occupy the time to keep away from the jelly seed that's becoming of the newborn. So all in all, everything's been great. Everything's been healthy, and I couldn't be happier. So yeah, now that we've gotten that discussion out of the way, you guys are more than welcome to join in on this YouTube discussion. This is why J-Rock was seeing that this pre-sponge situation can be misunderstood, and I do get his point, and that's a fair point. It's nice to have a healthy discussion, and I respect that totally. And what I'm probably going to do is, since I didn't get back to him yet, what I'll probably do after this live stream is I'll probably post the live stream underneath the comment, so that way that he can see it and he can kind of look into the live stream and see everyone's comment, because he said that I could, and we can all have a healthy discussion about it. But yeah, Scotty, heck, Joe, when we do the same thing, we get rid of we get rid of old, cry, poop, and sleep. Yeah, unfortunately, that's the case when you get older, Scott. I mean, that's just the way it is. You're born, and then when you're in a home later on down the road, it's the same thing. You got to have someone to take care of her when you're young, and you got to have someone to take care of her when you're old. So, unfortunately, that's just the way the life goes around. So, but yeah, thank you, Prodigal, for that. Congrats. Everything went great. We went to Altman here in Canton. So everything went great. It's so crazy to think that like whenever you have your first kid, you're so nervous about every little thing. But then as your second kid, the first kid's kind of like the guinea pig where you're learning things and you don't know a lot of things until after it already happened. So you're kind of like freaking out about all these different things and stuff. But then as you have your second kid, you're like, he's crying. He's okay. He's in the bassinet, or he's in the small little bed. He'll be fine. He's crying. We're finishing dinner, but we're gonna go pick him up here in a minute or two. He's just hungry. He just woke up from his nap. He's just hungry, so he's safe. He's secure. Whereas before, every time Alana cried, I swear to God, we'd be over there going, "Oh, what's wrong? What's wrong?" So, but yeah. But thank you for the congrats. I appreciate it. Jose, thanks for coming in. I was going to text to check in on you. New dad already at work. Short coffee break. Okay, well, join the. There was a big discussion about pre-sponge filters, Jose. So if you get a chance to back in on the live stream a little bit, I talked about J Rock does stuff. We had a healthy conversation back and forth. There was like paragraphs. So like I said, the conversation would have been a lot not healthy, but it would have been a lot better in person. Like if we were like at a swap meet or a fish auction, that sort of thing. And I feel like if we had a discussion, it'd be great. But even then, a healthy conversation, even with YouTube, that is why you can have a difference of opinion on YouTube and still have a healthy conversation. And that's just the way it played out. And it was great. And that's okay. But yeah, thanks for coming in, Jose. And it's nice to see you in here. I haven't seen you in a while. But yeah, thank you for the congratulations. I appreciate it. But yeah, that's fine. I've just been away from YouTube for a while because I've been trying to get used to taking care of the family of four. There was a lot of work stuff I had to get lined up as far as the leave goes. So I had to get that situated. And then once I got that figured out, then there was also some stuff long story short, there's some extra stuff I'm doing on the side right now during the month of October, which has been a lot of fun, a whole lot of fun. I've been doing a lot of stuff just to take care of the family, both financially and just having fun, enjoying time with them. That's the whole purpose of having time off work, is to spend time with your family on your parental leave, and just enjoy the time that you have before I go back to work in reality. So it's still happening. I've still got a couple weeks left of doing this, so I'm going to enjoy it while I can. But yeah, if you guys, anyone who misses this or anyone who would like to share this to anyone, I think it's a great discussion about pre-sponge filters. It's a great way to have a healthy conversation. It's a nice way to be able to have an opinion on certain things, because we're all not going to agree on things. Sometimes someone might like this or someone might like that, but in all, in a sense, as long as what's working for you and you don't mind doing it, that's all that matters. I still have the same amount of fish tanks running as I had before. So I actually, crazy thing is I put an Mbuna in a quarantine tank, a 20-gallon long quarantine tank. And when you guys get attached to fish, and you might be able to relate to some of this too, but if you guys ever get attached to like that one fish, and this Mbuna here, it's like a tiger Mbuna. It's yellow with black stripes. And he was severely beat up. I don't know if it was just from a fish, but his sides, both sides, especially the one side, it just looked like he either brushed up against a rock or someone severely beat him up due to aggression. So I was kind of nervous to put him back in the tank, but I didn't think he was going to make it. But the only thing I did was I used a combination of, what did I start with? My medicine. I no longer have it. Oh man, I almost had it. Long story short, if I can think of the name, I don't remember what medicine I used because it's no longer in stock because I ran out when I healed him. And then I used a little bit of aquarium salt. And I did a lot of water changes and that sort of thing. I added aquarium salt, as needed as per how much water I moved, and added that amount of aquarium salt back in. And slowly and steadily, he just got better and better, and he turned around, and now he doesn't have a single scratch on him. And he used to be really afraid, running away as soon as you came into the tank. But now he kind of made his own home. I put a few rocks in there. He's living the life in this 20-gallon long, and it's just by himself. Now maybe he gets a little lonely. I don't know, but like he's the one that greets me when I first enter the doorway. When I first put him in there, he would kind of hide away. But now that he's gotten so used to me going in and out of the door, and I don't like bother him or hurt him when I feed him, I'm this close to actually being able to put the pellets in my hand, to put my hand in the water, and for him to actually, because he thought about it the one day, but it was so close for him to actually eat the pellets off of my hand. Because right now I can literally put the pellets right on the top of the water, and he's like right where my fingers are. He's ready for it, and it's almost like that relationship that you have with the fish. Like he's always front and center. He's looking great. His colors are great, and it's almost like he loves being in there. And I don't know what it is, so I kind of feel like I'm hesitant to put him back into the main tank because I'm afraid of what might happen to him. None of the fish are beat up in here, which is great. So no one's getting bullied right now. Some do hide every once in a while. They do come out, on my live streams and stuff like that, which is great. But it's kind of like one of those feelings when you heal a fish, you want to put it back in the tank. You almost want to be down here, like maybe with me during a live stream, because right now with my family and my time off work, the only time I have to spend down here is one when my family's away, which right now, Ash is visiting her family, and they're watching. She's watching over Jonathan and Alana. And Alana has a dance class tonight. So I said, hey, can I do a live stream tonight while you guys are away? So this is why I had a good opportunity to jump in and do a live stream now. And the only time I ever have time to do a live stream is like late at night, like at 10 o'clock. So, yeah, that's what's been going on with me right now. And Jose, you are going back to the ER today. We'll do replay. Great to see you back again. Congratulations. Jose, you are way too nice, my friend. Holy cow. Hats off to Jose. Everyone give Jose a nice round of applause. Jose, you are too kind. Don't feel obligated, but oh my gosh, thank you so much, Jose. And thanks everyone else for the congratulations as well. But holy cow. We are definitely going to put that for the baby for sure. Yep. And I guarantee you that whenever I have your number, Jose, but I guarantee you that whenever my next YouTube payment, whenever that happens, I will share with you everything that we got with that super chat. Holy smoke. Jose, you are a gentleman and a scholar, and I can't thank you enough for it. It's nice to see you. I've been wanting to see some of your YouTube stuff, but with having a family, it's whenever I was at work and like on like night shift and stuff, I was able to, on our downtime and stuff, it was easy to look up a lot of YouTubers and watch the videos and have them on, side replay while I'm doing work and stuff and that sort of thing on like night shifts and downtime. But like now when I'm at home, the only time I have time to do that is at night. And that's usually when I only have a couple hours to do stuff and that sort of thing. But Jose, thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it. You mean a lot, it means a lot to me to do that. And I can't leave any of you guys out also who is watching the live stream. Jose, thank you so much again for that super chat. But I do have to say, Slim Tim's a member for 3 months, so I appreciate it. But everyone else who's joined into the live streams, I haven't been around a whole lot, but every time I come in here, even if it's just a little bit of people, I want to thank each and every one of you who's come in. I could even go through the list again. Slim Tim, thanks for coming in. Prodigal. Jose, again, thank you again for the super chat. Jeff, Scotty, Uncle Smiley's, Chris Junkin, Jeff Kane. Who else did I miss? Sweet Polly, thanks for coming in. If you guys are still hanging out with me. I know Jesse, he's a monthly supporter for me as well. Ed, thanks for coming in. You guys, Brandon, thanks for lurking. I know you were working. Craig, thanks for coming and hanging out. And it's almost close to Friday. I just went through the entire chat there. So I do want to thank each and every one of you for coming in. I'm going to still hang out for a little bit to see if you guys want to join in and hang out and talk with me for a little bit. But that's kind of the gist of what I wanted to come and talk to you guys about. It's been great. I'm going to try to be on here live as much as I can, but a lot of it has to do with I might not be able to do to it until real late at night. And I know that Jeff Pelham and his other friend, they usually do a lot of late night live streams. So it'd be hard to kind of do it at that time, though I really shouldn't worry about it because we all kind of go over each other anyway. So Jose said, meant to do it another way, had no real way to send it. You did not have the usual payment methods, did not want it to be public. Gotcha. Fair enough, Jose. At any rate, thank you so much for the super chat. It means more than you know to me. Then, and that's just very generous. So thank you enough. And like I said, everyone else, that joins my live stream, it's great to see you guys in here. I appreciate the solid following. It's nice to see familiar faces. It's nice to see new faces. And it's nice to come in and chat with you guys as much as I can. But thanks, Jose, for coming in, and have a great night. I'm going to hang out here for a little bit, but thanks again. And then I'll make sure to reach out to you in the future, Jose. But thank you again for the super chat. So yeah, that was very unexpected, but also been a very good conversation. And thank you guys for hanging out. Or any of you guys want to come in and join in, it would be much appreciated. But if not, let me stop sharing here. We can add this to the stage, and you guys can hang out with my 220 tank and hang out with me for a little bit longer. Hopefully that you guys are having a wonderful Thursday, and hopefully that you guys are only got one more day of work. So Friday's coming. So keep on trucking, because before you know it, it's going to be the weekend. You're going to enjoy it with friends and family. Do something outdoors before the snow starts settling in. And then for all you snowboarders and ski club members, hopefully you guys are looking forward to the snow so you guys can do all that sort of thing, because that's not for me. But I know that's there's some people out there that do that. I think Brandon might actually do that, come to think of it. But yeah, it's nice to be able to come in and hang out with you guys and share a little bit of information about what's going on in my life, and as well giving you guys a little bit of an update on everything that's going on with my fish tanks, my YouTube channel, and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's been fun. I've enjoyed every bit of it, and family is definitely been number one for me at this point. So when I can get on YouTube, I can. I'm going to try to. Right now it's hard for me to come up with shorts and videos right now, just because it's been so preoccupied with family. So I'm going to try my best just to get on live every so often. I've been kind of behind on everything, but it's hard for me to come out with stuff, especially when it comes to products. I haven't gotten a hold of Higer or AQQA in a very long time. I haven't reached out to them, and they haven't reached out to me. So it's like, it's just, got to put things in order right now at the moment. So, Brandon, yeah, do you do snowboard and stuff like that? I could have sworn maybe it was you, but maybe it wasn't. Scotty, every day is Friday for your retired folks. Yeah. That's nice. Retirement's nice. I hope you're enjoying every bit of your retirement there, Scotty. One of these days, hopefully, if I live long enough, that my retirement will be just as wonderful as yours is. But knock on wood, we live every day, life to the fullest, that sort of thing. Prodigal, yeah, you can join in. Yeah, I don't mind at all. You can talk about whatever you want to talk about. If you want to talk about the subject that we discussed here from J-Rock, that's fine too. Okay. So, Brent, you're not against it, and I used to a lot, but now I haven't in a while. So that was like me with skateboarding. For anyone who didn't know, I used to do skateboarding a lot right after I graduated high school. I worked with a bunch of people from KFC, and they got me into it because they were into the whole punk stage. And every time they left work, they would go to the local skate park, and they eventually got me to learn. And we all hung out and had a great time. I skateboarded for several years, and then after that, I kind of moved on. And then as some things do, sometimes friendships come and go, and that's just life, and you enjoy what you can. So that's kind of what happened there. But yeah, Prodigal, if you want to come in and hang out for a little bit, that's fine by me. You're more than welcome to stop by and hang out for a little bit. But yeah, I still have my my one fish tank upstairs. My 240-gallon breeders. The one up top has my Mbunas, which has a few ACI yellowtails, mainly yellow labs, and a couple Kenny eyes. I have several of them still down below that in 40 gallon. There's 9 of them. There's the um, African cichlid 220 tank that you guys are seeing now. You have so that would make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Technically 11 fish tanks if you count my quarantine tank that I have a hard time putting the fish back into. But one thing I debated too is if I decide to put the Mbuna, my tiger Mbuna, back into my Mbuna tank and kind of monitor him for a few days. The only thing that sucks about this Mbuna tank is catching a fish. And I have the rock set up so well right now that if I want to remove a fish, it literally took me about like 10, 15 minutes to get that fish, even though he was hurt, to put in the quarantine. It took me so long to get him out of this fish tank right here because all those rocks are like a puzzle. And if you take the puzzle apart and try to get this fish, it's just that difficult to put all the puzzle pieces back together to put it all, back into where nothing's going to fall down, nothing's going to fall over. They're real rock in there. It's nothing soft. So like, I want to make sure that everything is steady. That's why I put the egg crate on the bottom of the fish tank. So that way, when the fish start digging, that you have a solid base. Because that's what I did before I moved the fish from upstairs to downstairs. Is I put that egg crate on the bottom of the fish tank, and then I put the rocks down, for the base, and then I added the stand, and then I finally put the rocks, the finalized rocks back on the very top. So yeah, it was a giant headache for me to get him out of there. Let me see if I can do something for you guys so you can enjoy the fish tank here. There you go. I was trying to get it to have me in the corner and have the let me see if I can work this out here. Yeah, there you go. Me in the front and center. That'll work. I like it. So yeah, it's been good. Life's been fine. I have 11 fish tanks technically running. It could be 10, but I thought about going back to my 20 gallon. Is if I put the Mbuna back into the 20 gallon long, or into the 55, excuse me, I was going to attempt to put my electric blue Acara into the 20 gallon long and kind of put some aquarium salt in there. Maybe try to get some more medication for him and see if he kind of lightens up, maybe colors up and starts eating more. Maybe try some different food because he doesn't really eat a whole lot. So maybe that's just something that he's picky about. Maybe it's something that he wants to eat certain types of food that he doesn't like. And I just haven't had very much luck with electric blue Acara. I started, probably over a year ago, and I ended up getting 5 of them. 2 of them died pretty quick after about a week or two. So then I was left with 3. And as time slowly progressed, they just slowly died off. No damage, no fin damage, no nothing. But they just with my water here, it's just, if I were to do anything, I would have to have a tank that doesn't affect the pH, like no African cichlid sand, just has to be regular sand, which I do. I just got the Black Diamond blasting sand. And man, that stuff takes a long time to clean. But if I were to make any attempt at getting more electric blue Acara, because the pH that's already coming out of my tap water is already like at a high 7. I know the Acara is like a mid 7 range, and I feel like whenever I get fish from a store that has an RO system, which a lot of them do, they're usually at the 7.4, 7.5, 7.6 range. So when I bring them into my fish tanks that have a higher pH and have it jump that much, I feel like the only way that I could acclimate him is to drip acclimate. And even with that being said, I still had electric blue Acara dying off in this fish tank, slowly. And it just, they were never real lively. All the electric blue Acara, they were always slow moving. There was not a whole lot of active activity. So, and it sucks too, because I like that fish. So one of my favorite fish, but it just sucks that I can't have them for that long. Hey, Mr. Aquatic News Network. How's it going, my friend? Howdy, Earthlings. Howdy to you, too. Welcome to Canton, Ohio, where the weather's just starting to get cooler. Hopefully you're having a great day, my friend, and thanks for stopping by. We just had a very healthy conversation about pre-sponge filters. So if you haven't looked, if you wanted to check in on the live stream, let's say about maybe 10, 15 minutes in, I would say more closer to 15, is when I start talking about a YouTube short that I came out with, and I had a comment discussion with J-Rock does stuff, and we went back and forth on a conversation about what our differences of opinion on the pre-sponge filter. So good. I'm glad you're having a great day. That's very good to see and hear. In my case, see. um, Branton, you're saying that I find drip acclimating fish actually stresses them more. Okay. I've never done it myself. Um, short of a few very sensitive species, I've never found a drip acclimation to be necessary and had a great success with the plop and drop. And that's what I've always done to you, Brandon. Is I've always done the drop and plop method too. But we got someone backstage. We're gonna go ahead and bring him on up if you're ready. So, what's up, my friend?
Hello, can you hear me?
Absolutely. We are going to put you up here, and we're going to remove my tank here. So, alrighty. So, how you been?
Yeah, not bad, Joe. Not bad. How are things in Ohio?
Ohio is progressively getting cooler, and I was very surprised. Usually, we've been having a um, lengthy summer that extends to September, but this year it just extended all the way through October. It seemed.
And
So,
what part of Ohio are you in?
northeastern part. I'm pretty close to the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Oh,
So it's
Canton.
near
Yeah,
Canton. Yep.
yeah.
So,
I was born in Bowling Green,
oh,
Northwest.
okay.
Yeah,
So that's right down the road from me. Then I'm
yeah.
in a small town. It's actually Louisville, which is in Kentucky, pronounced Louisville. But yeah, it's a small town in Louisville. But I always say Canton by the Hall of Fame because that's where everybody knows where the Pro Football Hall of Fame is. So,
Yeah. Akron, Canton.
yep.
Indeed, indeed. Well, I miss Ohio. I moved to England from Ohio in 1990, so that's been 35 years now.
Oh wow.
And
So
back
did you like?
then, I had 27 aquariums when I found out I was moving to the UK,
Okay.
and I'm up to two aquariums now. That's one of them there.
So did you sell all your aquariums then when you moved from the UK to the US? Then
Yeah, yeah.
that's the only way to do it.
Thankfully, I belong to the Greater Fairfield County Aquarium Society down in Lancaster,
Okay.
and I was able to offload all of my fish, all of my equipment, and everything found good homes. I didn't get a whole lot of money for it, but I knew the
Yeah.
people, and I knew that things were going to things were going to be okay for the investment that I made. I just sort of passed it on. So yeah,
Right. So I
happy.
never knew your name's Don then, if I'm seeing that correctly. Okay.
That's right. Yeah,
Okay. Cool. Um, so that's the I guess for lesser or better terms, I guess, is whenever you get rid of fish and fish tanks and stuff. As we all know in the fish keeping hobby, you're not going to get a whole lot for it.
yeah, yeah.
But if you're doing it for someone that you know that they're going to good homes, you want to give that benefit to them, and that's just
Mm,
respectful enough for people to do. That, especially if you know someone that you're going to see down the road between YouTube and anybody else. It's
yeah.
nice to be able to do that generosity to people. So
That's absolutely right. And I learned so much from joining the local fish club. It's the only one that I've ever belonged to in my life, and I very much miss having a local fish club. There's nothing around me.
okay,
Um, I've got some pet shops, LFSs, whatever. They're not great. Um, it's difficult to be in the hobby over here, and unless you're in well, where I am with the hard water that we have in London, um,
yeah,
you've got to be into cichlids or something like that. That like the high KH
uh
and the
huh,
high pH. Um,
yeah,
or you're really going to struggle. And that's not where I am at the moment. But no, the belonging to the fish club, it sort of justified my geek for having lots of aquariums. I thought I was a real freak because I've had like 10 or 12 aquariums until I joined the fish club and I met people that had like 50, and I'm like,
yeah. And you're like, wow, I fit right in now. This is great.
yeah. So I found people that are on the same part of the spectrum as me,
That's
right?
wonderful.
Because in my life, I think I've learned that everybody is on the spectrum somewhere. Anybody
Yep.
with a hobby is somewhere on a spectrum, and
Right.
I don't want to go too deep into that. But we all have things that drive us in life.
Yeah.
And I think we benefit from people who we benefit when we meet people who are similar to us.
Yeah, and I would agree with
And,
that too. Even
and,
if
and
like,
it could be the only thing that we have in common is the
mhm,
tropical fish.
yep,
And we might have differing views dietetically, politically,
yep,
emotionally, whatever.
yeah,
But if
and
we have that one thing in common, you've got a starting point.
that's one thing that I've learned in my life is there's if you have friends or family that are, you know, if you have like, I don't want to get too in depth with this, but like on the political side, if you have a difference of opinion on that, some people are very strong feeling on that sort of subject. You know, I have, you know, people in my life that are very strong on that sort of side, and you just have to learn to, as long as you keep on that same subject that you guys can relate to, and you can have that same topic of whatever your hobbies is, whatever you do in life, that everything's just going to be square.
Yeah, and you stick to your commonalities, and it's even like the discussion, the chat conversation that you know, the messaging conversation, whatever you had with
Yeah,
Jay
yeah,
about the pre-filter sponges.
yep,
You know, to me, it's like, okay, what are the goals for your tank? What's the bioload for your tank? Every
yep,
tank is different. Everybody's tap water is different.
yep,
The way that you feed your fish, the fish that you have in the tank, or the critters that you have in your tank,
yeah.
they're all different. You can have two 20-gallon tanks in your room right behind you, exactly the same water supply, exactly the same fish in the tank, and they're going to behave completely differently.
Yeah, just like humans. I mean, we're all
God,
different.
God knows why. God knows why. It's
Hmm.
like sourdough bread, you know. It's
Yep.
like you get a sourdough starter from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and you get one from, I don't know, Salmon, Idaho, and it's going to be completely different.
Right.
uh, Yeast spores in the air that get into the yeast, and the bread's going to be worlds apart.
Totally different. Yep.
But
Yeah.
you've done it exactly the same. So
That's nuts. That's crazy how even like with
yeah.
fish and even like you did with sourdough bread, it's crazy.
So
Even
I want to talk. I want to talk to you, Joe, about goals for aquariums. Nobody
okay.
talks about goals for aquariums. When you set up a new tank, do you set up a tank with goals? Or do you set up a new tank saying, I got myself a great new tank. I'm going to fill it with gravel and rocks and plants in the background. I'm going to stick a great big 407 into it or something like that. Then I'm gonna I'll see what fish I like. Or do you say, I want to keep this fish and I'm going to set up this tank, given my water parameters, given what comes out of the tap, following the path of least resistance. I've got high pH, I've got low pH, whatever. What's going to do best in my tank, and what do I want to achieve from it? So, how do you approach that? Because this is something I don't hear people talk about.
Okay. So your main thing is, I want to highlight Brett's comment real quick. But your question is, what do you do best for your aquarium and what your goals are? Right.
What are your goals?
Okay. What are your goals and what do you want to do best for your tank to accommodate those goals?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, Brenton kind of relates to it too. That he said his water is sitting at 7.9. I'm guessing pH, not OH, but it's 15 degrees, both KH and GH, and he has very success with many fish, and that's great. Um, Maybe he's just, in time, Brandon, if you found that balance, that's great for you to have, and it works great. And unfortunately for me with the cars, it didn't work so well for me. But it's great when you have that balance of being able to have everything work for your fish tanks and everything's healthy and everything's been working great. So that's good to
Yeah.
see, Brandon. So I appreciate that comment. So that's
Well,
interesting. Oh, go ahead.
Brenton's just a lucky bastard, and he's got all those good looks as well.
Yeah, he's got it all down pat, right?
He's got everything going for him. I mean, God,
Yeah, he's a multitasker and he's been doing the YouTube thing. He's progressed quite well in the YouTube
we
community,
call
and
it gifted.
yeah, so he's doing well for himself. So Brent, thanks for that comment. um, So that's first I ever had someone ask me about goals for a fish tank or what is your main purpose for a fish tank. So I guess this comes in two different areas. When I first started it, it was like a very common, for me, it was just one of those ideas of you go to a fish store and you're like, man, those fish are colorful. Let's go buy, a fish tank and that sort of thing. So that was like my whole thing. Well, as I got more mature into the fish hobby and learned, um, I've learned from mistakes of what fish don't go well with others, that sort of thing. Even with talking to LFSs or even big box stores, you learn from that as well. But I guess, like, as far as my main goal was, no matter how you do things, I want those fish to be in clean water, is my number one main goal. I want to be in clean water and I want them to be happy. And I don't want I guess dealing with a lot of aggression, I've kind of slowly and progressively going to still be moving away from African cichlids. I'm still going to keep my Mbuna. I'm still going to keep my main African 220 there. But my main goal is to make sure that, because of the aggression issues I've had in the past, and I've gotten rid of my peacock and half tank, and I've learned my lessons, my main goal in my fish keeping community right now, as far as fish keeping goes, is to make sure that the tanks are in clean water, the maintenance is being done, no matter what filtration is, whether it's hang in the back, canister. I don't have any sumps. Sponge filters, because right now I'm running canister, sponge, and a hang in the back currently. It's going to be two here in a minute. But that's kind of my main goals, especially with growing out my own fish and keeping them in the 220. Like, that was my main thing, to make sure that they're all males and they all grow up together. So my main official goal is to make sure that everything is working out the way it should. And I have the filtration set up the way that I want to, no matter what someone says. And if someone says I'm doing it wrong, or if we have a difference of opinion, is I want those fish happy and I want them to live a long and happy life, is my number one goal that's in the dead center.
Okay. You raised a couple of good points there. One is that you want your aquarium and your fish to have clean water. And it took me a long time to realize that clean water isn't necessarily healthy water.
Okay.
And I'm not trying to call you out on anything.
Oh, yeah, no, that's not
I'm
my
just
intent.
I'm just going along with the original point of your stream, which is we can disagree respectfully,
Yep.
and raise different points of view. So I go back to my comment earlier on Lake Erie water.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it was a shithole 30, 40 years ago. I know, because my family used to go on vacation up to Lake Erie every year,
Okay.
every summer.
Yeah, that's a
And
very popular lake for us all around
it,
here.
it stank. It stank, and I can't forget how many dead frogs I saw floating on the surface of the water. They were so bad, the fish, if there were any fish still alive in the lake, they refused to eat the frogs.
Okay.
And
It's
we
crazy.
were forced to go swimming in this muck.
Wasn't there
Right?
certain parts of Lake Erie that's actually caught fire because of all the stuff that was floating around in it?
Could be. I don't know. I don't know.
Because I've
I'm an
heard
old man.
stories. Yeah.
I'm an old man. Yeah. I choose to forget some things in life, but no. I mean, to me, when I had those 27 aquariums when I lived back in Columbus before I came over here, I used to spend 75 minutes every night working on my aquariums. Now, a couple of them were show tanks, or sorry, display tanks,
Okay.
and breeding tanks, and the rest were hatching tanks and grow out tanks. Because what I did was I spent my time enjoying my hobby the way that, or enjoying our hobby the way that I chose to.
Okay.
And I would take buckets full of fish into pet shops that I had previous agreements with, and I would trade fish for food or heaters or whatever, just to make the hobby more affordable for me. But it was an hour and 15 minutes every night when I get home from work, working on the tanks, cleaning and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
I never went for a spotless tank unless it was my display tank. And I soon realized that was an uphill battle that I was never ever going to win.
Yep.
And then I stopped and I thought, what is life like for fish in their natural habitat? And is it vacuumed gravel? And is it algae scraped glass? No, of course it's not. They've got all this muck and crud and crap and mulm. that they produce or that's produced around them with the balance of nitrates and ammonia and nitrates and all of that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yep.
They're all byproducts, and the algae on your glass and the crap growing on your gravel, that's all part of the filtration system.
Yeah.
The filter media has so little to do with filtering an aquarium that more people should realize this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
once you reach that point, once you reach that point of understanding, you think, you know what? I'm just going to let the fish crap in the tank. If it becomes unsightly, I'll clean up a little bit of it. But if the fish are breeding, if I've got egg layers and they're spawning, that crap that's in that mulm is absolutely vital to their survival, and layers of leaves and stuff like that. And it's just like, why
that's
would
one
I
thing
take that away from them?
and that's one
Because
thing I've always heard too, that if your fish are breeding and they're doing what they're supposed to, that's signs of a healthy tank too.
that's right. They're living their best life. If they're making babies, they know it's safe.
Hmm.
Why should we interfere with that?
Yeah, and that's a good point. Um, like I said before, when I first started, I want everything in real pristine condition. I was like, um, not doing heavy water changes, but at the time, just cleaning everything to make it look presentable. And then,
Yeah,
like you said, after a while, it's just kind of like, you know what, just leave things the way they are. It'll be
yeah,
fine.
yeah. I mean, the thing that got me back, because I had years and years out of the hobby. Like I said, I had 27 aquariums back in 1990 when I moved over here, and I got married in '94, so I got an aquarium in '95. Had a couple of Oscars and a big monster plec and stuff like that. But the marriage didn't last too long. Had to get rid of the aquarium, and I'm only back in the hobby from last year, about a year ago. And where was I going with that? I can't remember where I was going with that.
About
But
making tanks natural.
when I had all those tanks, it was keeping things clean. But now it's just like I look at my tap water, because I
Uh,
live in Southwest London.
okay,
The nitrates coming out of my tap, 38 parts per million.
so you were already close to that, essentially changing water per se, for
Yeah,
lots of better
and
terms.
you listen to some of the so-called YouTube experts, and they say, "Oh, you can't let your nitrates get over 20." I'm sorry, I've got double that coming out my tap,
Yeah.
right? So, but one of the things that got me back into the hobby was um, the allure of live plants, because back in the 80s, you had Kabamba, you had Anubias, and you had not much else. You didn't have much choice. We didn't have fertilizers. We
Yep.
didn't have CO2. I don't do CO2, but we
Okay.
didn't have any of that science, any of that stuff, any of these lights. We had my first, I don't know, half dozen aquariums had incandescent bulbs, like
Yeah.
the kind you stick in your oven.
Yeah. They're
And
just yellow.
then we
Like
moved on to fluorescent tubes.
uh huh.
Now we've got full spectrum, high lux
Lighting.
LEDs and all of this stuff.
Yep.
So the choices are much wider than they were back then. So I got this aquarium, and I stuck some easy to keep plants in it, because I don't do CO2. I
Hmm.
haven't got the budget for it. I haven't got the interest in it. It's just
Yeah.
I just want simple plants. Now I do water changes to increase my nitrate, because my plants are doing such a great job
Yeah.
at, at eating up the nitrates. It's like mind blown, explosion
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah. That's good. If I were to ever move into a planet aquarium, which I started with one a while ago and I no longer have it, but if I were to get
Hmm.
start up another one, I would probably still get some of like the easy to take care of plants as well, and I would probably
Yeah,
keep something small.
yeah,
I'm just more of a simplistic person. I don't need like, other than like my aqua decor backgrounds. Other than that, I'm pretty simplistic with everything in my life. So I don't need a whole lot of you know to a point a lot of fancy stuff that I need. Especially for an aquarium. But Yeah, that's
I mean, I'm
interesting to
even more
hear.
simple than that. My tank doesn't even have a background. You just look straight through to the wall behind it.
Yeah,
The fish don't care. I don't care.
yeah. The fish aren't. The background and stuff is more for like your sake and people who want to come over and see like a neat background or something. Now, as
Just
far as the
just
fish
like the
goes, they don't care.
just like the lights.
Yeah.
Just like the lights. We are so being oversold aquarium lighting. It's ridiculous. The amount
There's
of
some
money that
really
the amount of
expensive
money that
aquarium
people
lights.
spend on these lights is
Yeah.
absurd.
I always thought of that too, that it's nice to see, that these companies are coming out with aquarium lights that are really nice, but I can't even fathom spending like some of these YouTubers that are like higher end, like they're doing great with their channel and that's wonderful. But like some of these lights are like a couple $100 just for one light. I'm just like, why?
I cringe at spending £30 on a light.
A lot of my lighting, whenever, because right now I have 11 fish tanks, like I said, but when I started doing the breeding project, long story short, all of these lights are just shop lights. And they
Yeah.
just go across the tank, and it's just easier because the shop lights are cheap. I got them on Amazon, and it worked. Same with these that are in these. These are one of them's the LED light on this one, and this one was a Higer light because the lighting I had to adjust here. So I just put the Higer light on it because I got it from Higer. But everything else under all the other tanks are all just shop lights.
Yeah.
So
So let's get back to your pre-filter sponge.
yeah,
How many aquariums do you have?
11 running currently, was 10 until I got my quarantine tank.
Okay, and how many of those tanks have pre-filter sponges on them?
Well, my if you don't know my channel a whole lot, I have a like a central air with one of those Gemco pumps.
Yeah.
So a lot of my stuff down here is run just by sponge filtration through that one Gemco pump. Um, but the FX filters, I did have a pre-sponge filter on my 75 and a Peacock and Hab tank. That tank is currently not running because it's down here just sitting by itself at the moment. Long story short. But anyways, back to your original thing is I have the 220 has a pre-sponge filter on each one of those FX6s, and um, the one upstairs has a pre-sponge filter on it. And
Okay.
then the one 40 gallon also has. So I currently have running 1, 2, 3 tanks with pre-sponge because, like I was saying earlier, I was going to add one on this tank, but I decided not to just because I just didn't. There's no rhyme or reason. I just decided not to
Yeah.
and I was planning on it, and then I just never did.
Okay.
So
All right. Well, the pre-filter sponges are all brand new to me. I mean, back back in the 80s, I had a 55 gallon one of my aquariums was 55 gallon, and I had an Eheim aquarium, Eheim canister filter. And I don't even think it had a model number. I think it was the only one they had. It
yeah,
was so early in the canister filter era, and I had nothing small in the tank. There was no need for a sponge or anything like that.
uh-huh.
And I loved that filter. I absolutely loved that filter. Um, this tank I bought here, I bought it secondhand, and it came with a Fluval 207. And I thought I want to keep plants and I want to keep Neocaridina shrimp. So I've got to put if I'm going to use a Fluval, I've got to put a, a pre-sock on it, a sock sponge, whatever.
Yeah,
And I've since moved the Neocaridina out of this tank into another tank for a completely different reason. But I still keep the pre-filter sponge on the end of the intake because it
okay.
provides an extra level of biofiltration.
Yep.
And I only clean it out. And I've got this thing set at probably because the 207 is adjustable. I'm looking at it now. I've probably got it set about, I don't know, 75% output. But when you put the pre-filter sponge on the end of the intake, you're automatically reducing the throughput of the motor because it's taking longer for the water to come up the intake. So it's
Yeah.
effectively, it's probably running about 50%.
And that was one
And
thing that's like I thought of too, and I meant to bring up as well is
yeah,
whenever you buy like any filter that you use, whatever it's advertised, theoretically, once your bacteria builds up and whatever you decide to do with your filter, long story short, you're only probably going to get, like you said, like only about 50% of the
yeah,
volume
yeah,
that it's stated, because you're only going to get that volume if you have nothing in it. That's pretty
yeah.
much it.
That what they show on the label is like pre-race conditions, and as
Yeah.
soon as it's gentlemen start your engines and everything gets fouled up, then it's
Yep.
just like your throughput goes down.
Hmm.
But once you put a sponge on the end of the intake, you're going to drag it down by what, at least 5-10%, something like
Yep.
that.
Yeah, and especially if you're
And,
not
and the
keeping
more
up
the more it
maintenance with
clogs up.
it.
But I don't mind that. I don't mind that because there's
Yeah, me
all
neither.
good things in that sponge. And I've got
Yes.
pygmy cories in this 29-gallon tank, and they spend most of their time either sucking on the sponge filter at one end of the tank, or at the pre-filter sponge suck on the other end of the tank.
Hmm.
That's where they get their nutrition, and that's where the
Yeah.
shrimp used to hang out.
Hmm.
So I know there's good things happening in these horrible plastic sponge things.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
So
Joe,
do
I'm going
you
to
do?
wish you all the best. I'm going to wish you all the best, and thank you for letting me come up and spew my thoughts this evening.
Yeah, you're
I
welcome,
would I
Don.
would
Did I
I would
answer
love
your
to have.
question?
Yeah, you
Okay.
did indeed. I would love to have further discussion with you and anybody else about goals for aquariums.
Okay.
When you set up an aquarium, what do you have in mind? Do people actually think that way? What do I want to achieve with the tank? And therefore, I'm going to set it up with these building blocks
That's right. You did say
for
what to
best
achieve.
possible success. Yeah,
That was one thing I forgot, was best goals and how to achieve it. What to do to
yeah.
achieve it. That's right. Well, I'm glad I could answer your question, and I hope that that was it was a good conversation we had, and I appreciate you
I
coming
enjoyed
in.
it. I enjoyed it. It's going on midnight my time, so it's probably just about time to go to bed.
All right, Don. Thank you so much, and have a good night. I'll see you.
Thank you, Joe.
You're
Thanks again.
welcome.
Good night.
Good night. Well, that was nice of Don to come on and hang out for a little bit. I appreciate it once again. And again, of course, I like to reiterate that I always appreciate everyone's input on my live streams. I, you know, want to thank, like I said, Jose for doing the super chat, but just as important enough, to thank everyone for coming in and joining in, hanging out for a little bit. Sometimes it's hard to get people on camera, and I get that. So some people aren't as comfortable doing that. They just like to be on the chat or just watch. But I think it's great. Brandon, I'm so glad that we made your day too. um, and he sets up his tank the same way and manipulate their setup to cater to the fish being housed. So that makes sense too. So it all depends on what fish is going to be in there, that you want to cater that sort of thing to whatever is going to be in that fish tank to kind of maybe replicate the environment, I guess, if I understand that correctly. Um, so that way you can accommodate, like what Don said, that his shrimp, they all hang out in that pre-sponge filter. Um, I wanted to ask Don before he left, but I know it was getting late for him as it was being, close to it's midnight around his time. But I wanted to ask him if he maintenance his pre-sponge filters, every so often. But if he's still here, great, you can answer me. But if not, then that's fine too. So Don, if you're still in here, you can answer that for me real quick. But if not, that's okay. But yeah, I don't know. I just think it's I don't know. I always feel pre-sponge filters are great. I think it's a great thing to have, and I always have like real coarse sponges because they're only meant to get some like the heavy detritus and the heavy stuff that's on there. But there's different ways to do everything, and I think it's very respectful to have that. It's very nice to be able to have a difference of opinion, just like Don did. We're able to have a healthy conversation. We're able to talk to about it like human beings, and like we said before, it's everyone's going to be different. Everyone has different personalities, just like fish do. Um, Even in my as calm as this fish tank may look for my 220, I lost my phone on my 220. I have to redo it. But even on my 220 tank, even though everything may seem calm, cool, and collect, there's still like a select one or two fish that like there's a dragon bud that's claiming that one spot, but he doesn't really relentlessly attack anybody. But he has that personality, like, hey, I want this spot, and this is no one else can have it, and that's okay. He's currently in that spot as we speak, so everyone's going to be different. Oh, one. Okay, so you are still on here, Don. All right, thank you. Once a month at the most for cleaning sponges and pre-filter sponges. Don't want to rinse all that nutrients goodness down the drain every week. Okay, thank you, Don, for that comment. I meant to ask that before you left, but thank you again for hanging out and showing me that. So yeah, it's I think just mainly just because you want to make sure that that filter is still running, and if the pre-sponge is going to get clogged up really bad, you want at least the majority of your filter, at least that 50% plus of cycling through your filter the way that you want it to. But yeah, that makes sense, Don. So thank you. So yeah, it's been about an hour and a half. I've had a good conversation with Don. Is there anybody else that would like to join in and hang out with me for a little bit? It's still kind of early, but I want to try to eat dinner myself because it's 6:30 here. I know that my wife and daughter and everybody else will be coming home here in a little bit. So the bioload of my tank is minimal. Take these things in consideration. So yeah. It also depends on that, it depends like African cichlids, their bioload, especially with the bigger haps and stuff like that, you're going to get into that. The bioload has to accommodate, your filtration and the size of your fish tank. If it can't handle that, and you're going to have, the water and the filtration, it's not going to handle that, then you need to accommodate accordingly. That's why whenever I did my breeding project with this African cichlids and I was going to be ending that, I wanted to keep that prized possession for myself of raising these things up myself and keeping only what I want in my aquarium and let their aquarium age and do what it needs to do. So that way, when it comes to water changes, filter, that filter maintenance and that sort of thing, that it would never hurt it because I would always have that beneficial bacteria sitting within the aquarium. But yeah, all good points, all good, things, all good conversations, just like I always like to have. My week is going good, Henry. At the beginning of my live stream, I was talking briefly about the first 10, 15 minutes about how all my fish tanks are doing good. I was just talking briefly about how the family's doing good and healthy. My son's had 2 great appointments. He had a follow-up a week later after the hospital, and then we had one recently for a hearing test, and it all went well. So everything with my newborn's doing good. He's 3 weeks, a little over 3 weeks old. And then my time off work has been great, with the family. So I still have a couple weeks left off work, so that's going to be nice to have. And I've been keeping busy. So everything's been great. I really can't complain too much because it's just been nice to have the time off and be able to finally get back here on YouTube and hang out with you guys for a little bit and enjoy my time with you guys. Henry, I have to accommodate my tanks to my lifestyle. I would love to get more tanks, and if it was just me and my wife, I would probably end up having the other side of my basement as another fish room. And that would be my life right there, especially if my wife were to get involved in the hobby as much as I did, because she did help out. She helped fed the fish during my busy schedule and during the summertime and that sort of thing. I did maintain all my tanks with the water changes and stuff, but man, that's unfortunately, which I know a lot of my videos of me taking down fish tanks, it's not the most exciting thing to watch on YouTube. But long story short, you got to accommodate your life to what you're doing. Whenever the kids get older and they can kind of maintain themselves, that might change. But what I would love to do is I would love to, there's 2 things I want to do. And one thing is I would love to have a pond of my own, whether it's big or small. I've been talking to a few people off on backstage and stuff through live streams. At the end of live streams through backstage, you all know who you are. We've been talking about ponds and stuff, so I've been trying to get little tidbits of information here and there of how to do things. And then, so I've always wanted my own pond to be able to show people and stuff. And then another thing is I want like the massive tank. I know I got my 220 here, and that's going to stay the way it is forever. And I'm going to keep that tank forever. I'm going to obviously keep these two tanks behind me forever because this is something my brother and I did, and this is like another prized possession of mine, that something that him and I did together. It's been a great thing to have, and I always cherish this for a lifetime, and it's always going to be this way. It's got my price tag aquarium sign up there. It's got my decorations. It's just a great thing for me to have to do YouTube lives in front of. But there's the second thing I want to do is I want to have my very first massive tank, and I'm talking like it's going to go from one end of the 220 to the stairwell that goes outside. And right now I forget the length of the total length of the industrial rack that I bought from Home Depot, but I want it to be a little bit longer than that if I can. And it's probably going to be custom made because I'm not going to bring a tank in here again, because at 220 that was a challenge for me, and that's why it took 6 months for me to get from the time that I bought it from the person I got it from to my basement, for one, in the middle of winter. But it also took me a ton of time to tear down tanks to make space for this 220. So like I said, granted, there was not a lot of views on my tanks I was getting rid of, but there was a whole purpose behind it. So I had like this meat and bones of like taking down these tanks for a whole purpose, for the head of the skeleton, as I say in the spooky season, to put this 220 on. So there was a reason behind it. And now that I have this 220, I couldn't be happier because I love it. I love the way it is. I love the setup. I love the filtration and that sort of thing. So that's just my thing, is I would love to have a monster tank, a big tank. This is just my personal preference. And I would build it myself probably as like a plywood tank, but that's going to require a ton of research. Now, whether or not that big tank is going to happen soon, it's probably not. My pond is probably going to come first, before my big monster tank, just because I have more of a mindset on that than my monster tank. And the reason why is because I want to be able to have like Oscars. I want to be able to have like Bala sharks. What else? Like I want to have. I've always been a bass fisherman. Before this whole hobby started, we used to, go bass fishing in a 15-foot aluminum boat. My wife and I, we used to go to the local lakes, small lakes here. You can do trolling motors and that sort of thing, small motors. And we used to always go fishing all the time. So we still have all our fishing poles. I did live streams here and there, for fishing and stuff. So that was whenever I found out about peacock bass, I was like, man, I would really want to have that in my fish room downstairs. And I think that would be great. So that's kind of the reason why I want to have like a monster tank, to be able to have, a mixture of different big, fish that would be able to get along together, or at least do some research beforehand to make sure what fish get along with what, and see to, go from there, that sort of thing. So I think that would be a really cool thing for me to do, to build my own tank. And that would be my last personal accomplishment, is to be able to get a sump in there, create my own fish tank, build it to, as the time goes. But I think for right now, since the kids are so young right now, that I feel like that would be probably years down the road. And I'm probably going to have the 260s and 75 gallons. The 260s, 275s are probably going to stick around for a while. Probably since I'm going to be having this pond, whether what size I'm going to do, that sort of thing. But we'll see what happens in the future. My basement, I would, you know what? Are you testing me, Henry? We talked about this, right? You're going to make me look up my notes. You're going to be testing me like once every so huge once in a while. And to be honest, dang it, this is what you're doing, is you're testing me. I knew this was going to happen somewhere down the road where you're going to be like, how big is your, you probably have it written down too. You're probably like, I'm going to test him and see if he remembers what it is. If you're still here, Henry, and you wrote it down, you got to tell me, because remember how how this room is in a T, so it's no longer just one big giant room like it used to be because of the in-wall setup. So now it's in a T spot. So I know that you're testing me, and for the life of me, I have it written down in my notes somewhere. And I did a house clean of notes and whatnot that I no longer looked at, and I don't think I have it. I do know for a fact that it's around like the 15-foot range, from one end, from this door to the 220, and then probably another 20 foot, or so from the stairwell to the 40 gallons. So I want to say that I have, if you're looking at two 75-gallon lengths, and what are 75 gallons? What, they're like 4 foot in length, I'm thinking. So there's 8 foot. So I want to have like maybe like a 10-foot length tank, maybe. I would say 10, maybe I could do 12. And then the height of it, the depth of it would probably be, what's the depth of a 75? That's what, 18 inches? So I would want to have the depth at least 2 foot, maybe 3. And then the height to be probably, I don't know. This is just me throwing numbers out there. At least a few feet tall. So it's going to be big, but I'm going to need the room to be able to do maintenance on it. So it might only be like 2 feet in depth, maybe 2.5. We'll see though. Yep, you're right. I need to find my note. Well, I don't have my notes anymore. And I'm going to have to measure it again because I know for a fact a month down the road, when I have another live stream, or 2 months down the road, you're going to ask me this same question, and I need to be prepared for it. This is going to be an ongoing thing for years to come. You're still hanging out. I thought you'd be going to bed. No monster tank for me. Just love to have room for a couple 40 breeders. And that all depends on everyone's living situation too, because before I actually had 1, 2, 3 fish tanks. At one point I had 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 fish tanks for a brief period of time upstairs. And before I moved everything down here, before I had this in-wall set up, I started slowly getting rid of tanks, and well, not getting rid of, but I slowly started moving tanks down here, and then I just kept my 125 upstairs, which is my own personal tank. It's for me to know, and I never have that on my live stream. It's just my own personal tank. Certain people may know, so if you know what's in that tank, don't reveal it, because it's kind of like my own personal tank that I love. But at any rate, I forget what was going on this. Holy smoke. Yeah, I don't know. He was saying about no monster tank for me, so he was a couple 40 breeders. So yeah, that's kind of like, I just want that monster tank because that would be like my last accomplishment, and it's eventually at some point this basement is going to be like my my hangout spot. It's going to be my own, personal man cave, as you say. I'm going to be moving a lot of stuff down here. A lot of my computer stuff is probably going to get moved down here as well, because everything's dry down here. We had some basement work done, so that way there's no leaks down here. So I can eventually slowly start moving my computer stuff down here, so I don't have to work between upstairs and downstairs, because that's what's probably going to be my live streams and videos, is going to be a combination between doing stuff upstairs in my computer room, in my office, and downstairs here in my fish room. Greg is in here. Late to the stream, but what is your favorite aquarium filter brand and why? I have to go, I guess I'm a little, like I said before, there's a lot of sponge filters in here, but I have had the best luck with Fluval, however you want to pronounce it. I don't care. It's because I have an FX2 in this fish tank. I have an FX4 in a tank that's not running. And I have 2 FX6s here in my 220, and I have an FX6 running in my 125. So that has to be my favorite. And I even love the Aqua Clears too, because that's Fluval, right? I believe. So that I've had like Higer stuff and AQQA, and those things just don't hold up. They're cheap. There's a lot of they're good, but there's a lot of material in it that are just cheap. And those are things I've just stuck with, and I love it. And that's the reason why I love them so much, is because I've never had issue with. I've used stock media with these FX filters. I've used my own media, and they just work. No matter what I've done with these Fluval filters, no matter what, if I use the stock media that come with it, or if I put in my own media, they've just worked, and I've never had a single Fluval filter fail on me. I've had Aqueon filters, and they work, but they're just kind of chintzy, and every little thing about them just annoys me. And I'm not a huge fan of hanging the backs anyways, but I hope that answers your question, Greg. Yeah, and that's what I was getting back to, Henry, is I would build my tank with like Aquarium Domain. I know that Cicla Bros did it. Maybe Joey. We all know Joey, with his channel. And I think a river tank would look pretty cool too. I think what would be really neat, and it all depends, like if I did a big tank, if I decide not to go the big fish route per se, I would probably have. It would be cool to have like maybe like a river tank with like a big like a tree or maybe something more natural. Like maybe if you could like somehow, because I always thought it would be kind of cool to like if I did like a big fish tank, if there would be some way to have an indoor outdoor fish tank sort of thing. But we have all 4 seasons here in Northeast Ohio, so it would be very difficult to do that. If we had a steady season all throughout the season, that would be pretty cool to have. So that way you could go outside and see the fish, but you could also come kind of like at a zoo. You could see the fish on the outside, but then you go downstairs and you have like the real thick, glass on there that you could see the fish down below, which would be really neat. You could see the fish outside of the patio and enjoy the view from that, and then you could see him down below as you go to the fish room. That would be phenomenal. But right now, like, I don't think that's possible for me just because of the fact that the only way that I could do that is if I would do it indoors. I don't have the space for that. But I would do my own plywood aquarium. You wrote it down, but you need to find your notes too. My next live stream again, it used to be every Friday. Right now, I'm just kind of have to go with the flow of how the family's doing and when I can schedule. Because right now, October for me, my weekends are booked right now. And the only time I can do it is, like I was saying earlier, is late at night. Usually probably like not until 10. I know that kind of interrupts some of Jeff Powell's streams and stuff. But yeah, thank you, Don, for coming in. You're welcome for that. Yeah, sponge filters it's the cheap and most economic way to go. And that's why whenever I had, 30 plus tanks, total at one time in my house, before the 220, whenever these things are run, these are the only 2 that had the canister filters in it. But all 30 plus of my tanks on here were all run by sponge filters, all from one linear piston pump. And I did that on purpose. That was something I was kind of proud about, for myself, is to be able to build it myself, connect the pump, and then run all my airline throughout the entire perimeter of the fish room, and then put it all together. And it was all run by sponge filters. But now, since things have changed, now I currently have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I actually have just air running into here. So 7 tanks are run by sponge filtration. Well, technically 7, 8 tanks if you count my quarantine tank. But before I had all my tanks run through sponge filtration, and all had drop air lines going to each and every one of them. And I love sponge filters. They're just easy to maintain. You take it out of the tank, squeeze it out, and put it back in. Easy enough. I wasn't too picky about it. Eheim, I've heard really good things about Eheim canisters. I've never had experience with them myself. So I don't have, I guess to reiterate, my favorite filters is because the only experience I've had is stuff that I just buy, and that it works, and I don't, really go anywhere else other than what's been promoted for me with Hygger and ATQA and Aqueon when I very first started. So I've never had any experience with Eheim, but like Brandon says, he's had 10 plus years, and they are absolute tanks. So that's good. Stephen P streams 2 times a day. It's hard not to go over him. He's a streaming fanatic. He rolls the people in too, man. He really does. More power to him. I don't have that kind of time. I wish I did, but I don't, because of priorities. But Henry, I currently have 11 running tanks currently, and it needs to be 10. But I cannot for the life of me get rid of this 20-gallon long, because I've grown accustomed to this Tiger Mbuna that I've healed up, and he's been looking really well. So it is now 6:44. I think I'm going to end this for tonight. Thanks again, everyone, for coming in. I know there's only a few people watching currently, but Henry, thanks for coming in. Branton, thanks for coming in. Don, thanks for coming in. Everybody else who I've mentioned, it's been a lot of fun, and it's been great to have a conversation about it. So anyone who hasn't checked this out, look about 10, 15 minutes into the live stream, and we have a good conversation with J-Rock does stuff. And we have a healthy conversation about pre-sponge filters. And also for anyone else, feel free to share it if you want to. And then we'll kind of go from there. And I'll see everyone later. Take care. Look forward to the weekend. And hopefully I'll see you guys soon on the next live stream. I'll try to keep you guys updated on when it'll be. But take care and be safe, happy, and healthy, and enjoy.